good? What's good? I'm doing good, man. I'm I'm actually going live on YouTube too, so I'm trying to do YouTube and TikTok at the same time. How are you? How are you? Let me know if my sound is good. Let me know if my sound is good. What is that? My sound is good. For the one, if y'all can hear me. Cool. There's some people in the building on YouTube. What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? Oh yeah, appreciate y'all staying alive. Well, welcome to Afro-Sundays, this late night edition. Salute to everybody on YouTube. Salute Mr. Dawkins. Salute Rona Travelers, always in the building. And also salute, man, in the TikTok world. So I'm on TikTok too, man, trying to get it popping on TikTok, man. But the Black community has been taking some L's. You move this over. The Black community have been taking some L's in Africa, and it's not looking too good. One in the chat, if y'all can hear me good, Ronan. He said, okay, I think I'm good. But yeah, man, the Black community, man, we've been taking some L's in Africa, man. What's been trending, I would say over the last few days with the woman from Kenya abandoning her marriage once she got to the US. And then I've been recently hearing about what happened in Tanzania with a Black woman, pretty much, all, escaped kidnapping. And I don't know if you guys seen it yet, but if you guys are not aware of the situation with the Black woman in Tanzania, please look it up. I'm not gonna play her her story, because it's pretty long. But she has it on TikTok, so you could just put Mika Tanzania and you should find it. But there's been a lot of conversations about Africa and Black travel in Africa. Like a lot of at least especially in the male space, a lot of people are getting turned off with Africa, and I'm saying it both on the male and female side. And I made this post, and it's synonymous to what Martin Luther King said. Martin Luther King famous statement. He said, "I think my dream has turned into a nightmare," and I think the Pan-African dream is turning into a nightmare. It is a nightmare. Let's talk about. I want to talk about the Black woman at first, and I know how a lot of Black men feel about Black women in this current day and age, but this is something that people, I think just Black people in general should care about. That could be somebody's mother, somebody's cousin, somebody's sister, etc. And for her to survive that, and just seeing like the bruises on her face, and just realizing that, her life flashed, flashed in front of her before her own eyes. It's just telling, like, how lucky and blessed she is in that situation. Salute to y'all in the building on TikTok. And I've seen a lot of comments, uh, uh, you know, some disturbing comments, a lot, from Africans. Some of the Africans were kind of calling out, well, don't say Africa, say Tanzania. And it's kind of funny because if, let's just say, if Black Americans, let's say they are talking to uh, a specific country, let's just say South Africa, let's just use Tyler's situation, right? Now it's like, oh, the Black Americans versus Africa. We could be our energy could be on one specific country in Africa, right? But then everybody else want to say it's them against Africa. But this situation in Tanzania, now they're trying to delineate. They're delineating from using the term Africa, saying no, that's Tanzania. That's Tanzania. So it's just kind of funny, with some of the comments, how they delineate when something is bad. When something is bad, people always want to delineate and say, no, it's not Africa, it's them. But when it's something positive, everybody want to say it's Africa. So I just wanted to point that out. Let's see, it was a comment. He said, even Austin Holloman is shying away from this. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, man. Let me read some of the comments real quick. Mr. Dawkins said, see, that's why I say stop trying to convince large group of people to come to Africa. This opens up for scams and other targets. That's right. He said, you're late. What's good, Kenny? Yeah, man. And so that's one thing. So we're gonna talk about I'm gonna talk about the African sentiment in regards to that young woman situation. Then also we got to talk about the patterns of Black men and Black women when it comes to travel to Africa, because we don't shine a light on it, like the passport bros get a light shined on it, but Black women travel to Dubai, Morocco. I didn't even know Tanzania was a spot for women. Let me know in the chat, you guys, if you guys even knew Black women was traveling to Tanzania. Like, that was new to me. I'm like, okay, I know Dubai. I could see Morocco. I could see Morocco because it's a tourist it's a tourist place. But Tanzania was just kind of a head scratch. I was like, oh, this is my first time. So I was shocked about that, but I guess it's just something I didn't know. Okay, Mr. Duncan said he knew. And then somebody said Egypt too. So I didn't know Egypt was a place Black women travel to as well. But basically, a lot of these Arab countries, for whatever reason, a lot of Black women are attracted to. I don't know if it's because of how they're treated. I don't know if it's because of them seeking foreign men, or men with money. I don't know. I can only speculate, but whatever the reason they're going, they're traveling as single women. Just like passport bros travel as single men, a lot of these women are traveling to single women, wanting a single woman experience, whatever that may be, right? And what we are finding is, on the Black women's side, they have faced a lot of danger, even women traveling in groups. Now, on the male side, because I'm covering the male side too, on the Black male side, it pertains to Africa, they're not facing violent danger, but they're facing more financial danger. You know what I mean? Uh, Disappointment, heartbreaks, and things like that. And not always disappointment in the way of a girl breaking your heart. Sometimes it's disappointment in the expectation of this brotherly, sisterly interaction, whether it's a man with a woman or another man or another guy with another guy expecting, you know what I mean, some form of uh endearment because of our blackness. So there's heart, there's disappointment, there's the heartache, there is physical danger that's happening in Africa. Now people may say, well, yes, it's dangerous all over the world, which is true. You know, South America is dangerous. People go, Mexico is dangerous. People go, I haven't heard too much in Asia. Um, I've heard of racial incidents in Europe. So there are risks going anywhere. But what really triggered me to really talk about this, especially including Black women in it, is because of the element of kidnapping, you know, um, and the idea of somebody can possibly take you with, and nobody would never know where you are at again. I was hearing comments about people talking about those people in those countries, they be kidnapping people for organs. I'm thinking about like, I'm thinking a worst case scenario like sex trafficking. I'm thinking of like, okay, sex trafficking is a big thing. I'm thinking that's the worst. But they talking about organ, a black market for organs, like that's, and it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense. He said, I recommend guys flying to Europe. But, and this is no, you know, because when I seen the girl Mika, in my mind, I didn't see her as a target for sex trafficking. I didn't see her as that. So it made sense that the ulterior motive could have been, something to that level, which is scary. I would hate to hear about a woman from my country that's not protected on that level. You know what I mean? Because you know, as Americans, people may feel a certain way how I say this, but as Americans, we are not we don't live in that type of, our world is not, so we don't live in that type of world where we have to worry about that. It's unfortunate that other people in other parts of the world have to endure, horrific things. Um, but we're so comfortable in our American bubble that is just so we can't even fathom or even mentally prepare ourselves for those type of situations. So it's something scary to even think about. Um, Also, there's countless stories of Black women being, femicide in West Africa. The Gambia has lots of stories. I've heard stories in, Ghana, Nigeria, um, pretty much common places Black women relocated to, visited. There's been a lot of incidents. Now some, on one hand, Black women have to understand when they go to patriarchal societies, the power shift, shifts. Men have the upper hand. Um, men can, a man can slap you in parts of West Africa if they feel like you've been disrespected, and no one's going to look, and people are going to look the other way. Um, so it's not for me to. I'm definitely not going to cake for women in the sense of saying that these men in these other countries shouldn't act like this because that's their patriarch model. That's how they move. Um, However, just like y'all warrant passport bros, women warn passport bros saying y'all shouldn't go to these countries. This is gonna happen. This could happen. A lot of y'all got to use the same logic for yourself. Why are y'all going to these places where there's a high risk, where it's not in your advantage as a black woman? It's not in your advantage. And so what it means is that there's a syndrome there's a syndrome that a lot of black women are experiencing when it comes to dating and relationships. And there's a syndrome that black men are experiencing that it comes to dating and relationships. And so just like passport bros, we're willing to risk our lives going to Colombia, where women are scopolamine, kidnapping occurs in Colombia. There are guys that have got robbed in scopolamine in Colombia and went back and still go because of this syndrome of saying, like, I will, it's better to, it's more fulfillment to try another journey in a dangerous place than to try to come to a middle ground with my, you know, equal counterpart. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. The Pan African dream has turned into a night. Um, and another takeaway, I'm gonna read y'all comments too. Another takeaway is that what we're seeing in a lot of comments, they don't like us. And I'm not, it's a general statement. And I'm not going to say that, I want to be careful when I say that, because there are, for the most part, you go to a lot of these countries, people are nice. The locals are nice, friendly. Um, Most of the time, people have positive. I would say have positive interactions, net positive interactions. Um, but there is a lot that don't like us, and it's cool. It's okay when it's like a very small minority of people in a particular country, that don't really have any, that has disdain for you. But when it's a lot, and it doesn't have to be even, you know 30 30% 30% of a group of people is a lot, right? um so when there's a lot of people that are showing they don't like us, because on the when it comes to black women in Africa, um especially in these Arab countries, a lot of men don't like black women because they look at those women are unchecked. They feel, a lot of men in those Arab countries, they feel disgusted that a woman is in their presence that hasn't been that hasn't that that isn't checked. Let's just say that it isn't checked. They don't like that. They don't like an uncontrolled woman, you know. Um, and if there's a situation where there could be a conflict between, let's say, a black woman and an Arab man, and we've heard stories in Dubai. Those men are itching for a situation to check a black woman. You know, they're itching for a situation to check a black woman. So that is something that, black women, have to be aware of. That's one of the dangers. And then so they don't like y'all. They don't like black women for that. And the things that happen in West Africa is a lot of jealousy. Um, Even with the men, some of the men I heard about the femicide. A lot of you know, the root cause of some of these femicides in West Africa against black women is about control too. Is because this woman displayed out of control behavior, And some men can't handle a woman that out of control. That is why this is I'm going off a tangent. This is why I noticed this in Colombia with white dudes dating Colombian chicks. For example, right? White. Let me use Colombia for example, but it applies to black women too. There's been stories of white men deleting Colombian chicks in Colombia, right? He find out, maybe he find out she's talking to other guys, or she got, Latinas are feisty. She got slick at the mouth, and it's a cultural thing. White men are not used to being. They're not used to the type of disrespect from other groups of women. White women are typically more non-confrontational. They're not. White women cheat, but it's not. How should I say this? White women don't cheat. They don't. The white man experience with a white woman is different than the white man experience with any other culture, right? And so he's not going to get disrespected as much with a white woman. He's not going to get cheated on as much with a white woman, and therefore, the white man with a white woman, he's typically in a calm state. But once some of these, I'm not gonna say all, but once some of these white men get with other groups of women, they snap. They snap because they don't know, they haven't experienced, they're not prepared for that cultural difference that they experience with uh, non-white women. And so it's still all about control. So what am I trying to say is that even in Africa, when black women deal with African men, especially on a continent, the cultural difference is it's a miscalculation on the male. He snaps because you crossed the line. You crossed some line with him that he's not accustomed to. And dating interculturally, this is another that's another topic. But dating interculturally for a woman can be dangerous. Especially, it could be dangerous. Let's just say that, because a man can snap because he's not accustomed to your level of disrespect, or you cross the line that basically you cross the line that his women aren't accustomed to crossing. Let me read some of the comments over here. Let's see. No, 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 no. That was just a friend. If you ask him about the picture with the Ethiopian, that was just a friend. Salute, Drew. He said, Mr. Dawkins said, that's exactly why people are leaving Ghana and Gambia. When we come to a country in large groups, the scammers come out. He said, it's actually Nigeria and Gambia. There was a black female who was talking about getting robbed in Zanzibar. Wow, she actually pushed them out the window. That's crazy. That's another. That's another Arab place. What up, the globe spinner? Big Mike said, look at Tanzania, the most richest people. Look at Kenya, the most richest people. These Africans put others over FBAs. Yeah, you see it. You see you see favoritism. I've seen it in Tanzania. You know, I see it going through customs. They smile and nice to other groups of people, and then somebody black come in. They got a frown on their face. Big Mike said, I don't do Pan-Africanism or pro-black. I'm in Santiago, Chile, which has the lowest black population in all Americas. They treat me fairly, and it was safer than most of Africa. Oh, he goes for himself. Femicide is high in Brazil as well. There was a black American woman who went to Tunisia. I hope I ain't been chopping the name up. I keep saying Tunisia, but And she disrespected the local man. She got jumped and thrown in jail. He said, "How the hell American black women going to Tanzania and Egypt by themselves?" That's what I wanted to get on to. Let me mention something on that. Um, he said uncontrolled. What up, Lindy? She said uncontrolled women. Listen, ladies, he is talking the best expert. Yeah. So yeah, so black women traveling with other groups of women doesn't make it safer, ladies. It doesn't make it safer. Um, traveling with a man, a lot of women probably don't want to hear this, but it's not safe. Women want to be independent. They want to move freely. They don't want to feel the need to be accompanied by a man. But a man will protect a man. A man will probably eliminate at least half of these issues. Now obviously, if it's a girls' trip, they're not thinking about bringing a man on a girls' trip. But a lot of women in these comments was like, "I don't feel safe traveling alone in Africa." And maybe Africa may be a place where black women or women in general should consider going with a man, or if it's a girls' trip, try to coordinate with some guys and make it a girls and guys trip. Try to do something like that. Um, but I just hate, I hate to hear these stories when we can't defend ourselves. And the reason why I'm passionate about it is because when somebody's black in the U.S. is mistreated, you know, and let's just say it's racially motivated, we're gonna ride together. We're gonna put our differences aside, and we're gonna ride together on this issue. And then after the issue is dead, then we're gonna get back to beefing like we always do. And so if somebody does injustice to, me, my black American brother or sister, you know, um, to a further extent, it could be any American, right? Um, we can't really ride for them in another country like that. We could do things politically or hit up conventions. Like on TikTok, it was this lady. She said she took it upon herself to go to the Tunisia embassy in the U.S. and bring attention to it. Because one thing about black women, they they know how to kick, scream, and holler to get people to get something done. You know, they can make that white. They can make the white liberal move. They can wait. They can make the white conservative move too. You know what I mean? So when a black woman is, you know, when she's serious, you know what I mean, she commands attention. So I do notice that. More Fortune says, screw Pan Africanism, we're Pan American, the Americas. Styles King was good, man. Okay, these are other responses to people. No, but I'll be back. I'll be back in Ethiopia next in November. He said lots of Black Americans when they go to Africa and they are in a restaurant and there's white folks, the white folks get treated better than customer service. Yeah, they do. You know what's funny, Big Mike? So you know that movie with Denzel Washington. He did the movie, um, and he ended up having a baby with he ended up having an outside baby, and then he passed away. What's the name of that movie? What's the name of that movie with Denzel? Because it was a scene in that movie. Hold on, let me see if somebody got that movie real quick. Let me see. I want to get this movie right. Yeah, Denzel. Denzel. He was a baseball player, or his was he a baseball player, or his son was a baseball player? Denzel movie. Let me see, son. No, not John. Not John Q. No, 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 no. Hold on. What movie was that? Fences. Fences, 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 fences. So it's a movie called Fences, right? Denzel, he talking to some people and he talking about how he going to the white restaurant and he going to a black restaurant and he's like, man, y'all, we get a bowl of soup, a bowl of soup, and I don't know if he said like neck bone, let's say neck bones or something like that. He said you get a bowl of neck soup, and he said when we get the soup, it's nothing but bones. But he like the white men get the soup, they make sure it's all type of meat in this. They make sure they get all the meat. And we get the leftover, we get the soup with no meat, no nothing. So that is how, yeah, that's how the treatment is in a lot of Africa. I don't want to paint that brush because I have seen in South Africa, even in Kenya, I have seen in Africa where Africans will go out their way um to to show us more love. I have seen them go out their way to let give slower, basically give us better service than white people. I've seen it, so I don't want to paint that brush. I have seen them be conscious of a lot of things like that. Let's see. They might say I'm Pan American. Brazil, Colombia has the largest black population. If I want the black experience, Ecuador, Peru has a large Afro population. He said I would recommend more fortune said I recommend black women to travel to Western countries outside outside of that travel with men. Yeah. He said travel to Africa as a female without a man come with risk and a stigma. They're literally in a high influence area that is patriarchal. We might say outside of African men, are we the priority or is the white man outside of? Oh, when it comes to African women, that white man comes first in a lot of dating and relationships type of situations. Um, let me go back to my notes real quick. TikTok. Yeah, so I'm on basically they don't like, they don't like us. Yeah, it's he said most African women have pro-black or are open to date all races. I think that most women in any society, they're gonna prefer their men, over 50% of them are gonna prefer their own men. But in regards to Kenya, Kenya is a country in Africa that I've seen the most interracial dating. I've seen that the most. And then two, even in Latin America, on these dating sites, any country I've been to 14 or 15 countries. Any country I've been to, and a woman was, cool enough where she showed me like who was in her inbox. It's usually a lot of white men. Usually a lot of white men. Whether it was, if it was a Colombiana and she showed me her dating messages, it's usually mostly white men. African woman, she showed me her messages, it's usually white dudes. So it's mostly white dudes in their inbox. You know, some will say they don't have a preference. Most will say they don't have a preference. You know, most will say that. Um, so another thing too is that a lot of Africans, they don't understand the repercussions of negative publicity. That's why in Latin America, if something negative comes out in South America, a lot of times they are quick to address it, or they're very, they try to prevent things from happening because they don't want to disrupt tourism. And they know a lot of places tourism is easily disrupted by, a major incident. In Africa, I don't see reactionary things that happen um, when people complain. Now, in the situation of uh, Tanzania, um, I, I feel like I'm saying this country wrong, but in Tanzania, I haven't heard. They said there hasn't been a response from. All right, Tunisia, Tunisia. I could have swore it's pronounced different, but there haven't been a response. And what I wanted to mention too is that let's talk about the guy real quick in Kenya. I found it interesting that a lot of guys, a lot of guys were saying that um, they're done with Kenya. A lot of guys were saying they're done with Africa. The This story has reached about tens of millions of people worldwide. The story with the Kenyan woman in the U.S. It reached about 10 million plus people, right? That big of a reach has a big effect on how men view Kenya, not only Kenya but Africa. So that is like 10, on a smaller scale, tens of thousands of men have said, I was thinking about going to Kenya, I was thinking about going to Africa, I'm good. So a lot of people are turned off. Even I'm turned off by, most of the countries in Africa except Ethiopia. And I do like Tanzania. I still love Tanzania. But yeah, Kenya, you know, a lot of these countries about to get their farewell tour with me. Um, I watched a YouTube clip, and a guy was reading comments, and a woman left a comment on the Shania's post and said, thanks, you have ruined my relationship with my fiance. She said her fiance postponed her K-1 visa process. After after hearing about the story with the Kenyan woman, this woman said her fiance postponed her visa process. He postponed, basically, like, he basically was like, you know what, let's, I want to chill for a couple of years. Well, I want to revisit this in a couple of years. So while she ruined one guy's life, she's ruined it for a lot of other women in Kenya in the present. That's not the only story. I've heard a lot of guys saying, you know what, I was thinking about proposing to my Kenyan girlfriend. I'm gonna, take a step back from that. You know, um, a lot of men saying they're looking at their girlfriends, their Kenyan girlfriends, or even African girlfriends like sideways. So the reaction, the reaction that's happening with some of these negative things, it's very impactful. Africans got to understand that. A lot of these women, and what put fuel to the fire in the Kenya girl situation was that it's one thing, she already abandoned, her husband, but the women, the Kenyans, the Africans in the comments were cheering her on. So other dudes looking like, that girl in a comment, that could be some girl I'm talking to, or that could be some girl I could have been interested in. They cheering her on, like, live your best life. you know, move up, they're applauding the hypergamy game. They're applauding that. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, if African chicks got this type of energy, I don't care if it's a minority of them. I don't want no parts of them. I don't want no parts of it. Not at all. Because it wasn't about, and this is what makes this story compelling to a lot of people. Is not only that, you know, a sucker got played by a girl or got finessed or whatever the case may be. It was the anti-American sentiment coming from the Shania girl and the people. Don't make no mistake. When they say, when she said she's the first Kenyan to humble the passport bros, that wasn't an attack on black. That wasn't an attack just on men traveling, right? Because guys fit the definition of passport bros from all walks of life, right? That was an attack on American men. That was a anti. You know how people say anti-black sentiments. That was an anti-American sentiment, and so that's how I took it. I said, okay, now y'all came in this country, finessed y'all way in this country, and now you're trying to shit on an American that you took advantage of to get to this country. So that's why I take it even on a different level of disrespect is anti-American. So um they they don't they don't like us. She could have moved on with her life without even trying to make a spectacle out, but she tried to make a spectacle out of it because it's the lack of disrespect. It's an example of how disrespectful Africans can be to Americans in our face. Think about that. That's I would never, and this is one thing about especially Black Americans, we're very respectful in other people's country. I would never go to any country and I don't care what this girl did to me. I am not going to try to shit on her while my foot is in her country and basically celebrate some girl's, heartbreak or displeasure. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what she could have done to me. I would not. I know it's not. I know it's not only me doing some things. It wouldn't only be disrespectful to her, but it'd be disrespectful to her country. I wouldn't cross that line. I wouldn't be in Colombia. Um, that's just like me and my ex in Colombia. I would never go in Colombia and making a spectacle in the country like that. And like, look what I did to this look what I did to this Colombian chick. Look how I was able to replace her with another chick. That would be so. I wouldn't even feel right. That's so disrespectful. That's why a lot of people is like, man, deport her ass. You know. Um, So yeah, let me read some of these comments real quick. He said, "I feel like other countries also have a segment of the dating pool where the women prefer white men. Black American men are relatively still new to discretionary travel. That's true." He said, "I had a dating account where this African woman wanted to link with me, even though it says she's looking for white men." Yeah, you'll see that on dating profiles too, only seeking white men. He said, being an American is still a selling point. Yeah, yeah, that's true, man. Um, but yeah, a lot of these African countries, or they have to understand repercussions when things happen. I'm trying to think of another incident. that got reported. Well, a lot of times when something happens to a white dude, things happen. It was a situation. It was a YouTuber. He was traveling. He was traveling on bus through West Africa, and one of the countries, I don't remember what country it was. I don't know if it was Sierra Leone or something like that. But basically, the immigration basically tried to bribe him out some money because he didn't have a yellow fever card or whatever. And he recorded the whole thing. And once he put it on YouTube for the world to see, he got apologies from the government. The police officers were fired, but it took for it to be on public display for the African, for somebody to take action. And and he was white. Now, if he was black, who knows if they would have did anything. But certain white people in those situations, sometimes, a lot of times, they get results when they complain or make a big story out of it. He said it's crazy that we get played more in Africa than than we do when we go to Europe. Yeah, man, that's why it's hard to kind of, like I said, it's hard pushing Pan Africanism. Not that I don't push Pan Africanism. It's hard being pro black. It's hard being pro black because we're the only country that adopted black as a social construct. And we're trying to apply a concept that Africa is not even on accord with. Africa doesn't even, as a whole, there are leaders that understand. They understand what's going on in the world, but most Africans, they don't even realize that the white people look at them as all the same as black people. So I don't know, man. I think what I seen with the lady in Tanzania in North Africa, because I was thinking about going to Morocco. I was turned off, and this is the thing. I wanted to go to Dubai. I was turned off from Dubai, because they're very strict when it comes to certain laws, and sometimes you might not be prepared for it. But I was thinking about visiting Morocco. I heard Kanye, he was supposed to do I believe, a concert in Egypt. I believe he was supposed to do a concert in Egypt, and or Egypt either denied his entry or denied his visa or something like that because Kanye made a statement about the ancient Egyptians being black. And so you see that anti-blackness in Egypt, and I'm surprised. I never heard the hype about Egypt. What is the hype about Egypt? What is the hype about Tunisia? I do want to know what the hype is with Tunisia because I've never heard people wanting to travel there. Um, yeah, what is the hype around these Arab countries for Black women specifically? But yeah, I was thinking about going to Morocco. Not interested. Um, I was thinking about exploring a new country in West Africa, but I'm still on the fence about it. But the motivation isn't there no more. Uh, so and I I don't blame black men. I don't blame black men for their choices, whether they want to, pursue, whether they want to live or visit Asia, whether they want to live or visit Latin America, whether they want to live and visit Europe. Because what can I really sell black men about Africa? I can't. Pan Africanism is dead because I can't sell it anymore. I can't, marketing, the definition of marketing is to generate interest, right? Promotion, marketing, advertising, it's all around generating interest, right? That's the goal of marketing. Sales, the goal of sales is to complete the sale, complete the transaction. Marketing is generating interest. So I can't generate interest for Africa. I can't generate interest when it comes to, as a whole, I can't generate interest when it comes to marriage because men are getting finessed by Africans in Europe and the United States. It's just not, it's just not pretty. It's just not pretty. I can't package that because what men are gonna say is, well, if I'm gonna get finessed, if I'm gonna get finessed and heartbroken in Africa, I would rather get finessed and heartbroken with a chick that's closer, that I may find more attractive, and that's not gonna exhibit Keisha behavior, And I get it. I get it. I get it. I can't sell. I can't sell long distance relationships because Africa is too far. There's no benefit. These women, they're more outside of mind, so the cheating is going to be higher. There's no benefit of sending a woman money that you may see once or twice a year. And a lot of times their appreciation is less. From what I've seen, an African woman appreciation is less than a woman appreciating it in Latin America. You sending somebody, their appreciation is less. It's almost like a lot of these African women feel entitled to it. Um, you know, I got another string coming up where I'm gonna talk about. I don't want to talk about it now, but a lot of these African women talk about men being providers in Africa, and I'm like, where's the proof of that? But I'm gonna save that for another streaming. But yeah, I cannot generate. I can't. And me as a travel influencer, and I've done a good job influencing travel to different places. I can't. My credibility be at stake of me trying to generate interest for Africa. No, I still Colombia. I mean, I'm sorry, Ethiopia. Yeah, Ethiopia is still a country of interest. Um, you know, and that's the jury is still out on that. I'll be there for about 3 months coming up, so I'll be there for a minute. But outside of Ethiopia, for the time being, or even this is what I want to say because I was gonna say I could generate interest for Tanzania. So marriage, no strings attached relationships, or casual dating is a waste of time. I can't generate interest for that. Now, if we talk about pay for play, I think I think Tanzania is up there with the Colombias, Brazils, and Thailand. If you know, you know. Tanzania definitely has that. But then again, it's like, I mean, guys travel to Asia for adult entertainment. Guys do travel to Asia, so I can see them traveling to Tanzania, for that. Ironically, Tanzania is an attractive country for Black women too. I kind of know why. So, that is a country I would say Black men and Black women do go just about the same, Tanzania. So, so yeah, Tanzania is a good country. I haven't heard any violence. Tanzania is one of the safest countries in Africa. Let me just throw that out there. Man, appreciate some of the love, the taps. Pablo Escobar. He said, not only that, what happened to the child? Yeah, I think the child is with he was old girl. I mean, he was old boy. From what I've heard, he was old boy. But yeah, Tanzania is definitely, um, you know, definitely for is definitely passport bro friendly, and Tanzania definitely for Black women. You know, there's like I said, I could understand why women would like Tanzania. So I would say Tanzania is cool, but Africa in general, like I just think that West Africa is just too dangerous. What was crazy? Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this argument. This Black woman. I'm assuming she was a Black woman, and she said that I guess she would. I guess some of these Black women, they have boyfriends or husbands in Nigeria, and so they're going to defend their husband's country. This girl told me, because I'm talking about how dangerous Nigeria is, right? This girl told me that, because I said, well, there's genocide going on in Africa with the Muslims and the Christians, right? So anybody that aware of of that conflict, there's tens of thousands of people that have been slaughtered, due to this religious, basically religious war that's going on in Nigeria. This girl gonna tell me that how is she gonna tell me that's like a gang? That's like gangs in Chicago. I'm like, really? Hold on. She compared she compared the genocide going on in Nigeria to gangs in Chicago. I said, wow. I said, wow. Are you serious? So some people are going to they're going to buck they're going to push back on me saying West Africa is not safe, but it's not safe. The few incidents that happened was enough. The few incidents that happened in West Africa to Black American women, and it could be other women besides Black American women. It could be other groups of women too. I just know about the Black American women incident. West Africa for women going there by themselves is not safe. North Africa is not safe. Now, yeah, South Africa, I haven't heard too much. Like I said, Tanzania. I mean, Kenya, I haven't heard things. I haven't heard negative things, at least for Black women. Rwanda women are going to be safe, but I don't think those places might be attractive for Black women, because they a lot of times they're looking for. A lot of times, Black women aren't interested in the places Black men typically fly to, except Tanzania. I would say Tanzania would be an exception. Oh, okay. They might say it was Kevin Hart who said that. He said original Egyptians were Black and they canceled the show. See, man, they don't like us. And what's funny is I said they don't like us. I was thinking about Kendrick Lamar's song when he said they not like us, and they not like us, and they don't like us. He said being an American is so much crazy. Hold on. They might say if I buy a property in Italy, I will most likely get I will most likely get fair treatment. But when I buy a property in Africa, they're scamming involved. Yeah. Just look at Traveler Tony's story. Yeah. And I talked to him. Yeah, I talked to him a lot, man. He had to go to court and sue. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I had a unfortunate situation with land in Colombia too, just to be fair. But those are countries that don't have the uh, real estate infrastructure to do real estate in. It's a lack of infrastructure as well. He said Tunisia and Egypt, Muslim influence and extremely cheap. Okay, I could. Okay, they cheap. Okay. He said I would never buy property in Africa. Yeah, I looked into Africa, but it just South Africa is cool. You can buy property in Southern African countries. They have the infrastructure. They have the laws. He said Europe is the only place other than the U.S. where I could buy property. He said we might have had focus on. We might as well focus on Ethiopian women. Ron Charles said, I don't get anyone wanting to be finished by a foreign woman versus staying in the States and dealing with a woman you can communicate with and being finessed. If I don't get anyone, oh, I don't get anyone want to be finessed by a foreign woman versus, yeah. And like I said in my opening statements, man, there's a syndrome, man. There's a syndrome with Black American men that travel. There's a syndrome with Black American women that travel as single people, because both groups of people are looking for something that they're not getting in the United States ultimately. So I'm not trying to play the Kevin Samuels role. I'm not trying to unite the Black community when it comes to dating and relationships. I think it's past. I think it's beyond the point of the return. I think it's the beyond the point of return when it comes to that. But I do think we still can come together when it comes to certain things, when it comes to civil rights, doing what's right. Because black, I know I got a diverse audience, but black women and black men have came together in this internet diaspora war. I have seen unity when it comes. I have seen unity in that. I will say that. I have seen unity in that, but that's a different conversation. He said, no excuse. If you find something that's serious in Africa, would you bring it back? Um, if yes, but it's a reason why. Yes, but it's a reason why, and it's more of a religious reason. Well, it's more of a how. Let me say this, because I don't want to get too far off topic, but um, you know, and when it comes to, like I said, religion is the only institution that I believe that should control people. You shouldn't control people. You shouldn't have to control women through money. You shouldn't have to control women through force. You shouldn't have to control women through other means, because all those means of control can be taken away. But when it comes to religion, religion always stay the same. My only problem with religion was that what is the religion to what is the religion that keeps people accountable? What is the religion um that is not broken? What is the religion that is practiced and so forth? And through all the research and things like that, like I came to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which is orthodoxy, which is under a subcategory called Oriental Orthodox. And there's a lot of things that led me to that. Ethiopia being the only country that hasn't been colonized, and then discovering that Ethiopia had 81 books in their Bible, which made me curious on why the other books weren't considered by by the other churches and so forth. And just me studying the history, and Ethiopia wasn't uncolonized, and that the Christianity was practiced. How should I say this? The Old Testament was practiced by Ethiopians and Jewish people before anywhere else in the world. So, in essence, Christianity, which came after Christ's death, has been a part of Ethiopian culture for over 3,000 years, meaning that the roots of what we call Christianity today is the true religion. Hence, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and the churches alike, they practice it the way it's supposed to be practiced, is held accountable. Marriage is one of the sacraments. Marriage is required in marriage is a requirement. You have two options, marriage or monastery, meaning that marriage or a monk, marriage or a nun. And so when you marry in when you marry inside of that, you get a woman that's faithful to the church, she's faithful to the church. And it's something that is held at a high regard. It's something that the community keeps you held accountable for. And there's virtually, there's virtually no divorce. I'm not gonna say not divorces haven't happened, because adultery is allowed. Divorce under adultery is permissible. Saying it all that to say, she would have to come from that. And then, even in that situation, you still have to vet in that situation, because, as some people say, you got lukewarm Christians, and you got people that are, totally committed. So yes, but you know, I will prioritize a woman that's okay to live in her country, and me living there as well. Big Mike said, "What makes Tanzania different though, outside of nightlife? What's there to do in Tanzania?" Well, Tanzania got beaches. Tanzania got beaches. Zanzibar, there's surrounding beaches around Dar es Salaam. They got water. They got tourist activities. They got resorts out there. Good food. Um, I mean, it's not as turned up like a Thailand, or like even a Cartagena. Well, sometimes Cartagena could be slowed down today, to be honest with you. But if you like the beach and hot weather and beautiful, beautiful water, Tanzania got that. Tanzania got that. Definitely beaches, a beach resort place you can relax. Mr. Duncan said the entitlement comes from the fact that as a foreigner, you can earn more than the national average regardless of the country. In Africa, again, it's a huge patriarchal environment. That's true. He said Ghana ranks second safest in Africa. Man, hell no. I can tell you I haven't been to Ghana, but I can tell you two countries I wonder what he looked. I could tell you two countries off the top of my head that I'm sure is safer than Ghana. Rwanda would be one of them. Rwanda was I've seen in a lot of lists, Rwanda being number one safest. But I don't know. I see Ghana in this one. I see Ghana is in this one. I haven't heard too much controversy in Ghana, so I will give you that. But I have heard about the land situation though. I have learned about the land situation in Ghana. Locals complaining, protesting, mix-ups. I've heard, the land situation. I wouldn't buy land in West Africa. I wouldn't say Ghana's second in land acquisition. Hell no, you can't even do freehold in Ghana. But yeah, I'll give you that. He said it's probably a lot safer in Namibia. Yeah, most of Namibia is desert anyway. He said there's a Black American female who's married to a local and lived there for years. Yeah, I could see it being safe. HB Go Global was good. He said Africa has the most natural resources. How can we as Americans benefit from that? Yeah, if you want to benefit from natural resources, you have to be an owner of a exploration company, which I mean, which black people don't really have. You know, we don't out. You know, maybe we do, but they're small. But you know, we don't have black exploration companies that's full of geologists and you know, what you need geologists, you need engineers to explore, right? You got to explore, you got to survey land, you have to use all this expensive equipment to search for resources. So the only way you're going to benefit from that is one, if you have a company that has the technology to do it, and then two, you know, you are able to bribe the government to let your company come in and you know find the resources and give them a cut. You know that's the basic way. He said, if you bring her back, aren't you afraid she'll switch up on you? No, I believe I put it like this. My in that situation, um, you know, the orthodox ways don't change regardless of where they move to. Like the accountability doesn't change. Like we have a church in Philadelphia. There's an Ethiopian Orthodox church here. Everything is the same. The program is the same. Um, you know. So, like I said, those things I'll talk about like on another type of platform, you know. But if I did that, you know, if I did that, I would be 100%, you know, confident in that situation. You know, he said TZ doesn't have the women on the beach. What's a beach without women? How was Zanzibar? I never been to Zanzibar. I mean, Zanzibar got some baddies, but I get what you saying. I get what you saying. You know, but somebody said, "What would you do? You know, what can you do in Tanzania outside of the nightlife?" You know, but then again, I don't want to say too much, but you know, I'll be watching. You know, P Hub, and maybe walking down the beaches and picking up little cute black girls, you know. So it must be something out there. He said all these Indians and Chinese are extracting natural resources out of Africa. How will black men get a piece of the pie? Oh, I think I answered that, Big Mike. Rwanda, TZ, way safer than Ghana. Yeah. No, no, no. That was uh that was a month ago. That was last month. Rwanda definitely is. Yeah, he says Dad was Orthodox Christian at 2030. She said she was very religious back then. Now she can't stay. Yeah, she is. She. I should. I don't even want to. I don't want to interview her. She is. She is toxic, man. But you know, Zed is a special case, man. Those divestors had a bad experience with black men. You know, just like I see the comment with the Kenyan guy, with the Kenyan girl. They was like they was like it hurt more because she was a black person. It hurt more. And I think, and I heard even with like black immigrants, right? When things don't work out with a black American, it tends to sting a little more. So that resentment is like amplified more. You know, it stings more when it comes from people you expect to not uh to not hurt you. You said Padre Zanzibar was weak though. I will try North Zanzibar next. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna have to check out Zanzibar one of these days because they got the red. They got the, you know, from what I was saying, they got the red bone for sure. They said she was dating a Black American man for 8 years. He didn't propose to her. That left a bitter in her mouth. Oh man, he left something else in her mouth too that was bitter for 8 years. She like, I did all that guzzling and he ain't married me. Oh man, she is hurting from that, man. He left a bitter. He left a different bitter taste in her mouth for 8 years. Yeah, man. I mean, it's a lot of risk, man. But it's that's what I'm saying. Like, and I want to get back to Olga too. But you gotta have. It's all about game. It's all about game. Now, it's all about game and being clever, right? You got clever Africans, and you got clever Black Americans. So even with my situation in Colombia, things didn't work out, but I came out unscathed. My ex was like, she used to say things like, you don't want to take no risk with me. Like everything you do is about protecting yourself, and I'm just like in my head, I'm like, well, I mean, that's smart, right? And at the same time, marriage should be about being vulnerable and being a risk, but I had to be I had to be witty in that situation. You know what I mean? Regardless of the feelings and whatever. And things didn't work out for whatever reason, but I came out unscathed. I didn't bring it to the US. We had a clean split. Didn't have to sell anything, didn't have to, no money was exchanged or anything. We went our separate ways, you know. So, you have to be clever. I mean, I've seen guys bring chicks to the US and they up on game. I heard about a white man. It was on, I forgot, I don't know if it was on, I think O'Shea covered it. Somebody covered it. But a white guy had married a Kenyan, brought her to the US. She started acting funny. He filed a police report saying that she abused him. She ended up getting deported, going back home. And our family was pissed off. They was embarrassed. They're probably pissed off because she fucked up the lid. But the white dude had game. He beat her to the punch. He said she abused him, and he got her deported. Usually, it's women that come here and they file these fake restraining orders, or they'll cry abuse so the women can stay here. But the white man flipped the script. He 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 claimed abuse first and got her deported. So basically, you gotta have game. You gotta be clever when you deal with these chicks. You just plan on bringing her in. Like if you got property, you got you got trust funds. You can put I can put my house in a trust. Um, you got the prenups. Ironclad prenup. There is there's ways to you can and this you can set her up too where she's making money and you'll be in her pockets. You can be in her pockets too. So whatever if you do decide to bring here, you gotta be clever and have a game plan. Like she gonna come here, we can do this business. Or if she got education, if she got skills, let's say she can make 100 bands a year. You Gucci if she decided to leave. It's like she's not gonna be in my pockets. Um, so it's just a lot of things that it depends on a woman. But if you clever, if you got game, and not to toot my own horn, like, I got game. I'm clever. I got game. You know what I mean? I ain't one thing, knock on wood, one thing I I don't let a chick get I don't let a chick get over on me. I don't let a chick get over on me. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you can leave the US and be like, shit, good luck. Catch me if you can. I'm out. I'm out. There's a lot of American Ethiopian women date black men. There's a lot of American Ethiopian women date black men, then settle for a white American men. He said thoughts on Trump getting rid of DEI and laying off government workers. Yeah, I know I mentioned that before. Yeah, I mean, DEI never really affected. I don't think Black Americans, particularly foundational Black Americans. I don't think DEI, in the grand scheme of things, I'll put it like this. I only can speak for myself. DEI is only good for people that are working in non-STEM fields or people that's looking for a managerial position. So I don't care. I don't care that he got rid of it. To be honest with you, is that people keep missing what she did and how she got that green card. That's why she's on the internet telling people he beat her. That's an automatic. That's automatic green card. They don't even investigate. If she said that, that's crazy. That's crazy. He said for men who bring a white back to the U.S., they need to build a solid network with the local first. That's how immigrants are able to properly. That's how immigrants are able to properly. A woman, her, and the family's reputation are important. I mean, bringing a chick under Trump administration is kind of in your favor. I will say that. But he's not going to be along. He's not going to be around. He got what? He got 3 more years. He said, "Hell yeah, chicks get mad at me if they can't get I don't know why this simple in my way. If they can't get, I can't read the last word. Yeah, man. Yeah, if it's about getting over, man, yeah, chicks get mad if they can't get over, man. But guys gotta be clever with that, man. And just to go back to Black American women, traveling, you know, because for Black men, for the Black men or the passport bros, it's about, is Africa safe when it comes to either protecting your heart or protecting your finances. For Black women, it's about, are you safe from violence or violent crime. Um, you gotta have game. Your head gotta be on a swivel. You gotta be able to watch certain things. But even if you are a clever woman, like what I mean, luckily the woman in Tunisia, lucky she was probably one thing. We talk about Black women being too masculine, but trust me, that masculine saved that woman's life, fighting for her life to get away from the Arab man. He probably was surprised. He was like, man. They probably laughing at him. Man, like, man, how you let a woman get away? And Black American women got that strength. They could, I done seen niggas get whooped by women. So, we talk about Black American women being masculine and stuff like that, but I can't blame them. One thing I gotta respect about Black women is that they have to be raised, they have to raise their daughters to be tough and strong for these situations. They have to be able to match a man's energy, which is sad, and that's just a telling example. It's because men aren't around, the fathers aren't present. When you have to raise a woman to be just as strong as a man because of the absence of the father, and usually the absence of the father is the decision of the mother. black women have to be stronger and masculine, but it did save her life. So that's something to think about. Let's see. He said, "This is what Kenyan dude told me in the U.S. He said, you are going to bring a woman over. Make sure you put 2 or 3 babies in her. She will not have to." Man, I wouldn't do that shit. What I mean. That's not. That's some shit. That's some shit I used to think of. That's some shit I used to think like in high school, college. Like, man, cause I had a baby young, and I had a baby mama, and niggas had a mentality like I'm thinking, put it like this. I had an ex in Texas. She had 4 kids, and I was dating her. Nigga, that shit didn't slow her down. That shit did not slow her down, man. Like that's some, niggas I grew up around that was real thorough. They would never tell me no shit like that. They would never tell me to put more kids in a chick and she gonna be more loyal. They'll say that's some. They'll tell me that's some goofy ass shit. I wouldn't even, if that Kenyan dude said, I wouldn't say that shit, man. I've heard guys say, well, I won't bring her to the US until she's out of her prime. And that may work. If she's over 40, that may work, man. But I thought the same thing too. I'm just like, man, if you want to, if you bring a foreign chick to the US, have a baby first, and that'll show that she's if she has your baby, that means she's a rider. But the African women, and she's not the only African woman I've seen African women do this to white dudes. They'll have babies. This one African, I think I clipped her my last video. She got three or four kids by a white dude. She made, she's a millionaire now. She don't need that white man no more. She don't need that white man no more. Them kids, women don't. Women have realized that kids, they don't give a fuck about these kids. What they say, a woman will break up a family for her happiness. A man will sacrifice his happiness for his kids. Women don't give a fuck about these kids, man. But, a lot of them don't, man. So yeah, that's crazy work. You knocking up 3 or 4 chicks, man. When it comes to Kenyan women, and I hate to say this, I hate to say this, man. Man, y'all light on TikTok, man. But I hate to say this, man. But I made I made a comment on my last live. I said that I don't want an ambitious woman. I got some women in the comments like, oh, well, what's wrong with a woman being ambitious? Y'all are, it's shaming, right? And there's a reason. Like, I don't need a woman to. Why do I need an ambitious woman? You know. And the same thing about Kenyan women are clever. They are very clever. And I had to think about that. I mean, you guys know what clever means, right? To be clever. And it doesn't have to be necessarily book smart or things like that, but Kenyan women are clever. And some people might be saying, well, what's wrong with a person being clever? Well, a person being clever, it's always going to be a mental game. Who can outwit, who can outsmart the other person, who can catch one slip. And a clever person, too clever, well, a clever person is dangerous because they are always calculating to position themselves to have the upper hand. And so Kenyan women are clever. So if somebody wanted to even make the notion, what is the best scenario to marry a Kenyan woman? I wouldn't want a Kenyan woman that's clever. If I was to get with a Kenyan woman, she couldn't be clever. She would have to be a woman, definitely not from Nairobi, from a rural area, from the village. And yeah, she just couldn't be clever. and there's ways to know, like, people pretend to be dumb too, but you can figure out certain things. You'll learn certain things quick. But Kenya, there's a lot of clever women in Kenya, you know, and like they said, you can't, you know, you can't hate on a player, you hate the game. There's a video of some African European woman in Morocco wearing half naked clothes, and a local Moroccan man throwing rock. Really? Throwing rocks at them? That's crazy. Real said, honest question, why the need to get married in this generation? Overall environment these days is conductive most women submitting to men. Marriage was initially intended to combine assets. That's a good statement. Like I always say, if you're not religious, and I think we live in a post-religious society, if you're not religious, there's no point of getting married. Now, let me say this. Now, obviously, there are reasons, there are exceptions, right? Some people get married because they want to get, um, some people get married for health reasons. You may meet somebody that may want to get married to get citizenship. I mean, maybe they may be like, I'll put you on my life insurance policy if you bring me to the US. 'Cause, the lead attorney, he talked about this a lot. He used to say that there are reasons to get married, and a lot of it's personalized reasons why. It could be for papers. It could be for certain benefits that may be really really important to have. But in a context of love, no, there's no reason to get married. If you're non-religious, there's no reason to get married if it's only about love. Um, but if you see some tangible reason that is beneficial, whether whether it whether divorce happens, then yeah, there are reasons to get married. But in the context of love, I don't think there's no reason to get married, if it's not a religious reason, if it's just about love. HB said she is a foreigner. She ain't Americanized. If she got all those kids to worry about, she ain't got time to do all the other cultures that America. But that's the problem though. They think they can do it though. So in the meantime, while they think that they can have um this hot girl summer with all these kids, they are, putting the kids through something. They're putting the men through something because women, they act off of emotion. Their pride is so high. So if she got 3 or 4 kids, she's gonna prove to herself that I'm not gonna let this man hold me back. They're gonna fail. They're gonna fail, but they're gonna at least try. And see, Michelle said, just find the right one, clever or ambitious or not. A real loving lady is not all about money. No, that's facts, man. Appreciate you, Michelle. Appreciate you, Michelle. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say to find the right one though, because you know, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard out here for a pimp. It's hard out here for a pimp or pimpess. It's hard, man. You know, people. I was thinking about this driver today. I was like, we as people, everybody's standards is high. Everybody's standards is high. I was like, because it's men that criticize passport bros, and we criticize women on having high standards. And I was like, well, because it's men, I call them male feminists. There's male feminists in the US, and they'll say, well, y'all just need to improve yourself And I started to think about it. I said, okay, you had one failed relationship, you improve, you learn from that relationship. You have a second relationship, it don't work out, you improve, so it's like, damn, how much more improvement do I gotta fucking do? Like, I'm not perfect. Like, I'm just I'm just not gonna be perfect. And I'm thinking about, okay, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, most of our human patterns and behavior are the same. Most of our things we like it are the same. So I'm saying that 50 to 100 years ago, we had more, I would say, marriages or relationships. What's the difference now? Because 50 to 100 years ago, niggas, it was men that wasn't good in the bed. It was men that was probably fat. There was men that probably, had a little dick. It was men that was broke. It was men that had bad hygiene. It was women that was overweight. It was women that had what they call it, a fupa when they have a baby. It was women that, um, you know, that start looking old start looking unattractive at an older age. Like, all the same things that turn us off now existed 50 to 100 years ago. So if people accepted, if people dealt with those things, men and women, if we dealt with those flaws 50 to 100 years ago, why aren't we dealing with these flaws now? You know, That's the question. Why aren't we dealing with the flaws now? Because if everybody got high standards, then it's gonna result in everybody being single, you know. So, when it comes to finding the right one, everybody's standards is high. My standards is higher, everybody's standards are higher. Let's see, try Lesotho or Swaziland and you'll get